at the beginning, we were not really thinking about online courses, right? But the pandemic actually forced us to consider it and to contemplate, what is the best way to make use of technology. So we were sort of reluctantly being forced into this. And during the process, we think that sometimes for some types of courses or teaching materials, I think the online format can be very effective. It can reach audience, tens of thousands of audience that we had not done before. So we understand. We play with the technology. We understood a little bit about their advantage, and we're taking advantage of it now. Over the past three plus years, the business schools experienced a lot of changes, and obviously we put all the courses online, and that took a lot of effort initially, but we did that pretty well. We made that transition fairly smoothly, but students, obviously, as you know, management education, there were a lot of case discussions, and that type of learning format is actually not very suitable for online format. So actually we struggled, and we somehow used various ways to encourage participation. Students stay engaged while online, sitting anywhere in the world, and remain engaged, and so that they can get interesting discussions going. We tried, and the consequence is that it's still not very good. So at various points over the 3 years, we had to somehow renegotiate, negotiate with students about when to offer the course, or should we delay it until a later time where we could get the class face-to-face. And but luckily, when we were all tired of negotiating, the pandemic was over. So we almost at that breaking point, and we were lucky that now we have gone through it, and everything now is back to normal. And but we're not forgetting the online format. So we struggled through it, and we did a lot of innovation to make it an effective teaching method. Now we are going back to the face-to-face, in-person mode, but the experience that we accumulated for the online format continues. So for example, I mentioned this Doing Business in China. This is an online learning platform that we developed during the COVID years and launched at the end of the pandemic. And we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to build that platform and take advantage of technology, even though we can meet face to face. But traveling takes time and effort, and that learning platform is still very useful. There are various actions that schools, business schools can take. One is I would say change ourselves before we can change the world, and changing ourselves is difficult. Because we're used to certain mode of work, certain mode of research. And what we are saying is that we should broaden ourselves. In addition to what we have been doing, now we have an eye more focused on reality, more focused on industry, and use industry research as a means to help us stay connected with practice. So I think, the type of knowledge creation, the different ways of knowledge creation, I think should be broadened. In addition to just publishing in journals, academic journals, I think we should also be thinking about doing something that has direct impact in practice. And we decided to do industry research. And that, I think, is a very useful way to focus our attention and to pick on something that we can continue in the long run. That's one thing. The other one, the actions, is really about technologies. So we mentioned that technologies are two-sided swords. And you could use it to your advantage, or you could be at the mercy of technology. And somehow we need to strike that balance. And that takes a lot of exploration and innovation. So I think we now understand the online format, and we could use various technologies to enhance our teaching and reach bigger audience. But there's also other technologies that we are not so familiar with, right? For example, like ChatGPT. We just saw it at the end of last year. And it already has a huge impact on what our students do and what our professors do. And that raises a big question about what type of knowledge we should really teach in our business school classrooms. And that is something that actually is really to contemplate and to think about the best way to somehow, make use of these two edges of the sword, and one to your advantage, and the other one is really to limit its downside. And there are a few additional points, and I think I would just emphasize on the cross-cultural abilities. I think COVID separated countries from each other, and as a result of that, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding across cultures. And now that the pandemic is over, I think we should go back and continue to cultivate and promote international communication and collaborations. And that's really very important. So in terms of business schools, what business schools do, I think we are obviously closely connected with the business world, and businesses obviously emphasize on trade. So it's a very natural thing to increase effectiveness and efficiency of the business world. And we, as a business school, I think should pioneer or trail blades to cut through all these fogs and to create a way for different cultures to come together and collaborate. And the other one I probably would also emphasize is interdisciplinary. So in addition to cross-cultural, the other one is interdisciplinary. I think the world is moving in the direction where there's a huge demand for talents that cut across different boundaries. You may know a little bit of technology, you may know a little bit of business and law, and those people will be in high demand in the future. So I think for business schools, one thing we could do is to reach out and collaborate with other parts of the university or other institutions to create these sort of joint learning programs so that all graduates will be much more capable and be able to adapt to this new world. General MBA, obviously it's not focused on any particular industry. So the students, they go into the industry and they need to learn additional knowledge in order to play a proper role. So that's so going from general MBA to a sector-specific MBA. That's the trend. And but you could say that it becomes narrower, right? Somehow I focus on a particular industry, but I think it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to. For example, if you think about the finance industry, right? So the finance industry is evolving, and the talents that they need, somehow they need to have knowledge based in different areas. So for example, they actually hire, for example, like fintech, right? So this is a big trend going on for 20 years, and they tend to hire people with technology and finance background. So that's interdisciplinary need. That broader base of knowledge is actually a result of an industry trend. So we actually basically, if you say, I'm going to serve this industry better, and you need to understand where this industry is going. And many of the industries are going in the way of interdisciplinary knowledge base. So I think you could be very precise about a particular industry, but that doesn't mean you can avoid interdisciplinary. I think a lot of times you actually need to do interdisciplinary education. At least for China, tech finance is a big trend. And obviously the country realizes the importance of entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship sometimes takes, technology out of the lab and somehow make it into a product that the market wants. And in that process, you need to you not only need technology, you need business models, you need management, you need financial skills, and you need to understand patent laws or other related laws. So you sort of have to combine all these different streams of knowledge and to make it work. And as long as the economy is moving quickly, entrepreneurship is always important. Innovation, entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is really a highly interdisciplinary effort. And so we think that tech finance will be a big trend. And we are hopping on it starting 2 years ago. So it's where the country is going, and then we think that the business world is going as well. You need a lot of engines for innovation, all right? And those engines need a lot of management talents. Antai is a full-fledged business school in China. We have undergraduate, masters, PhDs, MBAs, EMBAs, and then we have a huge executive education program. So it's a full-fledged business school, and it's obviously it's one of the top business schools in China. And students come to Antai and they could experience a lot of things. One is obviously, first and foremost, is classroom teaching, classroom learning. And Antai being within the SJTU environment, the university is known to be a solid place where people come and learn real skills and real knowledge, and Antai is part of that culture, and I think the students spend a lot of time in classroom and doing homework and discussions and so on. So people tend to be more focused on the role of learning as a learner when they were students in Antai. That's one thing. The other one is very much emphasis on practical skills. And there are various ways to do it. I mentioned in my presentation the entrepreneurship project that we've been doing every year for the past 20 years. And students will come up with a business plan, and they will enter into a competition. And the audience, there are financial sectors people sitting in the audience, and they will rank these projects or these business plans or business models, and they will decide which one to fund. And the students will get to action, and hopefully they will grow. They will eventually become a very successful company going for IPO. And that has been another, a very important culture of Antai, and that is you actually have an opportunity while a student to launch a new business. While a student. So that's another support. Either people who can, there are courses to teach about entrepreneurship, what are the things you should do or you should avoid. And there's money there to support the projects going forward. That's one feature. And the other way that we stay connected to practice is this industry-focused study that I mentioned. So students, they could take marketing courses, finance courses, or strategy courses, but they could also teach a course or a set of courses on a particular industry, if that is what they want to do eventually. So that research, that format of courses will bring in a lot of people with great experience in the industry and combine them with our professors. So that's also a very practical oriented way of learning. We call it industry community courses. And finally, the third thing I want to mention about Antai is our students I don't know how to say it. It's really our students' enthusiasm with sports. Sports are something that we do a lot, and students really perform very well. In the past Olympic Games, I used to tell people the Olympic Games in Tokyo 2 years ago. If you think about the Antai students or the Antai alumni who participated in the Tokyo Olympics and the number of medals that they get a total of 23 medals. There's gold, silver, and bronze. And if you put Antai in the rating of the world's countries, which country has the largest number of medals? Antai is number 23. So we are very big on athletics and sports. So that's part of the culture as well. I think it's really the skill, right? So they learn important skills through the program, and the corporations or the institutions that hire them will see the value of those skills. I think that's number one thing. And the other one is really the brand name of Antai and SJTU. So it's a very strong brand name, and with a master's level MBA degree, it's a huge stamp of approval, and that obviously will help with the salary. And finally, probably is perhaps some students will enter into new roles, even opening up their new businesses, and that will give them great opportunity for salary increases as well.